The next reader is going to be a person who I respect very, very much, and she's presently the Navajo Nation Poet Laureate. She has published other books, but first I will say that she is Tohe, or the Navajo Nation, of the Navajo Nation, and she is of the Slippery Rock clan and born for the Bitter Water clan. A librettist and award-winning poet. Her books are No Poet Parole Today, Making Friends with Water, Tohe, Deep in the Rock, Poe Talker Stories, and Sister Nations. Her libretto, Enemy Slayer, a Navajo oratorio, premiered in 2008 in Phoenix and was performed by the Phoenix Symphonic Orchestra. Laura Tohe is professor with distinction in the Indigenous literature at Arizona State University. She's also currently, as I said, the Navajo Nation Poet Laureate. So please welcome our sister and friend, Laura Tohe.
Thank you, Simon. And thank you, Ruben, for inviting us here and to be here on this beautiful land, clean air. Can see a long ways away, which is something I appreciate since I drove down from Phoenix. Just to introduce myself, I'm Tohe. Sena Betlin Schlit Horich in Bashichin, Johana et Husanado Dashichedo Ma Ideshkiri Dashanal. And that means I am Sleepy Rock People Clan, born for Bitterwater Clan. And my paternal grandfather clan are the Sun Clan people from Laguna Pueblo. And my paternal grandfather clan are the Coyote Pass people. Simon mentioned that I'm the Navajo Nation Poet Laureate for 2 years. I was recently given this honor at the Navajo Tech University in Crown Point, New Mexico. So I'm very honored to be to hold that title. A few days ago, we had Veterans Day, so I want to read a short piece that I wrote about my brother, who was in the Army, and he did not have a long life. And this is called Dodge Charger. In 1993, my son and I visited the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. My 11-year-old son made the astute observation that even one name was too many for this memorial. As we looked at the names of the veterans, I couldn't help but think that my brother's name should have appeared on the marble wall. He too had been a casualty of a war overseas, at home, and within himself. About 10 years after my brother returned from Vietnam, he bounced around from veterans' hospitals to veterans' homes. One summer, I visited him at the veterans' home in Home Lake, Colorado, and invited him to have lunch in Monte Vista. As we ate, the people in the local diner eyed us over their coffee and lunch. The tension in the room recalled memories of the attitudes towards Indians in border towns near the res where we grew up. We grew up playing marbles, Army, cowboys, and Indians. Yes, we wanted to be the cowboys because they always won. And for breakfast, he made my brothers and me whatever color of pancakes we wanted, with red, green, blue, and yellow food coloring. "What color of pancakes do you want?" he'd ask, and spill a few drops of dye into the batter, and then place a stack of red or green pancakes before us, like he was some short-order cook in a truck stop diner. Though we fought every day, sometimes with punches and hair pulling, he was the only one of my 4 brothers who offered to play with me and my toy kitchen, and later as teens he asked me to dance, to rescue me from wallflowerhood at one of the summer dances at the Gallup Armory. We danced furiously in a wide berth, bumping into couples in our wake. One spring about a year before he ended up at the Veterans Home, a sheep herder found him in the Arizona desert near the res, where he had suffered a seizure during one of his binges. My brother was not a violent man, yet the violence he lived through in Vietnam became internalized. From the Veterans Home, he wrote letters to me in elegant calligraphy, the curlicues carefully rolled like baling wire unraveling. He wrote that he was the youngest veteran there, that he wanted to get back together with his first wife and raise their children who longed to know him, to call him Daddy, Shije'e. That he wanted to get his life on track one day at a time and go to law school. I hoped and wanted this and more for him. By now, the alcohol that he used to stave away the nightmares had ravaged his body and mind to the point that his dreams would not be realized. The trail of bottles violated my brother's young life year after year. As a Boy Scout, he had been elected to lead a troop of young scouts into the Toshkai Mountains to survive one night in the forest. He returned to the camp, leading his charge intact and unscathed. Later, he dropped out of high school and joined the Army and was among the few selected for Special Forces. He sent a photo of himself wearing a green beret on his shaved head. He trained to parachute into the perilous jungles of Vietnam, sprayed with Agent Orange, before the Army admitted that it was toxic and caused nerve damage. I imagined him as a young Diné man flying with nylon wings before falling into the jungle of the current enemy of the U.S. In Vietnam, he met and brought the monsters home that broke into his dreams suddenly and violently. The seizures that also came scared my grandmother and mother to their cores. He was to live with these terrifying nightmares for the rest of his life. My brother was generous in spirit and with his money. He was not another Indian stereotype cast into the role of the alcoholic Indian. He was an intrepid man who lived life courageously and sometimes foolishly. With what money he had left from his military savings, he bought an orange Dodge Charger with a most powerful engine. The Charger seemed to levitate as it roared the distance from Window Rock to Gallup at 100 miles per hour, breakneck speed on a narrow 2-lane highway. It took a mere 10 minutes to get to Tohe Junction, an adrenaline rush for his fast and furious life. Perhaps he tried to outrace his monsters of war, but the monsters always knew where to find him. Eventually, they released him a month after he turned 40 years old. In the spring, my mother would say, "That's the fence your brother put up." Between the both of us, we barely had enough strength to finish it. We looked at the stakes that struggled to stand up and hold up the chicken wire. I preferred the orange Dodge Charger, and my brother holding tightly to the steering wheel, his eyes on the road, a smile on his face, my brother driving, driving, driving. Called Tohe. The sun rises to the earth bright as an abalone shell that hangs on the neck of a new morning for the Tohe comes. Water is their prayer that greets the day, that makes the clouds pregnant with rain children, and greases the wings of the cicadas sitting under the thick veil of the summer monsoons. Gratitude is their prayer that rises with each breath, for water that undulates along fields of cotton. It is water's twin that appears on the red faces of the pottery. Cotton, beans, wash, the warm fields inside two seasons offering themselves to the people, so that it continues to dress the naked drum of the green earth. Once they followed the map of stars south that still lies in their memory, to seek salt and gather rainbow-colored feathers in a thick land where clouds shed their skin, where mountains and temples were made of stone and blood, and a game of fate that broke open the path toward life or death and caused them to flee north again. They returned once again to pull down the clouds that would build their city that undulates between glass and cement, that carved this valley to contain their spirits. They are all around. I was waiting for your applause. I'm just trying to get my poems out. This is called Dirty Apron. My mother came home every afternoon smelling of the day's cooking at the boarding school. Meatloaf, gravy, onions, fried fish. Her tired white apron stained with those smells that I hated, that I was ashamed of. I wanted a mother who didn't slave over hot stoves and return home smelly and soiled. At that time, I didn't look at you, Mother, as the fearless navigator of the snowy nights, driving us through the ferocious winter to get us home because you were left alone to raise us. I didn't look at my aunt who brought in the cattle and directed the branding and immunizing. I didn't look at my grandmothers and great-grandmother who wove blankets to bring food to the table. Instead, I wanted a clean, dry woman sitting in the office with lacquered nails who answered the phone and went home as fresh as the morning she came to work in. I wanted you to be her. I wanted to be her. And this one is home, actually, boarding school. I wrote this book called No Parole Today about being at the Indian boarding school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was there for 4 years, lived there, and I went to the white public school. The names: Lujan, Susie, Cherry, Donut, Woody, Wabbit, Jackie, Rena Mae, Zani, Sina, Verna, Grace, Celine, Caroline. Virginia Spears, the algebra teacher calls roll. Her name is Speens. And Virgie winces and raises her hand. Here, soft voice. She never corrects the teachers. Leonard to Sosie, his name is Sosie. Silent first letter as in Ptomaine, Ptolemy. Silent as in never asking questions. Another hand from the back goes up, no voice. Mary Lou Yazzie, are you related to Thomas Yazzie? Yazzie is a common Navajo name, like Smith or Jones. She rhymes it with jazzy and snazzy. Mary Lou with puzzled expression. No. Oh, I thought you might be. He's quiet too. I start to tense up because I'm next, with my name that sticks out like her sensible black high heel lace-ups. Clap, clap, clap down the hall. Laura Toe, and I start to sink, to dread hearing it on the bus tossed around like kids playing keep away. Suddenly we are immigrants, waiting for the names that obliterate the past. Tohe from Tohe means the heart of water. Sosi, Tsosa, means slender. And Yazi from Yaja means beloved little one, son. The teacher closes the book. and we are little check marks beside our names. Roan horse, fast horse, blue horse, yellow horse, Begay, Deswood, Neilwood, Chi, Atsida, Kabahatso, Haba, Haskinez. And then this last poem is about writing. Because when I was growing up on the reservation, we didn't have a television, and we amused ourselves by reading and also reading comic books. And my mother did take us to the Gallup Public Library to check out books, and so I checked out fairy tale books from the library and read them. And it made me realize what a small world I was living in, because in these library books I could travel to other worlds, other places, and other times, and eavesdrop on what was going on. And so I loved books and appreciate what they did for me. It's called In Praise of You. What story was it that started it all? What sounds did my mother and father coo into my ear that made its way into the heart of me? Since then, many lives have allowed me to live theirs. Without you, I could not have entered a world of little Lotta and ghosts and Madeline and Superman and witches whose houses stood on chicken legs. I wished for a father like Nancy Drew's, wished for superpowers of Superwoman, and later for her body. Where you led, I eagerly followed. Once my lover threw Shogun out of our bed. After words and insults, I ran to the living room and found torn pages. I knew then I had fallen in love with a man who didn't like to share the bed with books. I sleep alone now. In praise of you, you touch me. In the stillness of evening, at the break of day, you rescue me from a still life. In praise of you, you make my life larger with stories and poems. You say, hold me, open me. I fluff the pillow and pull the down blanket around me. Here's a little something for you, you say. Then it begins, a poem, a story rises, and I abandon myself in praise of you, friend, teacher, companion. Thank you.